Hi, Ben. This is Elise from Oakland.
Hey,
I
how's it
wanted
going?
to suggest that maybe we have a greater crisis than we're willing to acknowledge. What we're dealing with, and you were talking about climate change, excuse me,
Yeah.
yesterday and the sort of conspiracy theory around it. But what we're dealing with is people who don't care about the consequences of their actions.
Hmm.
They don't care that climate change may in fact lead to a great species extinction, including human extinction. And they don't care about social justice. In fact, the parties who don't care about climate change are often the parties who don't care about social justice, who do things. I mean, Jeff Sessions is a case in point, for
Yeah.
example. He's both a climate denier and someone who is a rabid racist.
Mm.
So,
That's
I'm sorry, I
interesting.
have a little bit of a cold.
No problem. No problem.
Um,
Go ahead.
so, so, so it seems to me that we need to be asking the question, what kind of political strategies or what kind of political
Yeah.
strategies do we need to come up with
Mm-hmm.
that are grounded in an understanding that these people don't care.
Right.
So that it's not just that they are impervious to logic. It's that they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of nihilism requires a very different kind of politics from people on the left.
Come
And
on.
it's a frightening conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because when we have to think about, well, if we're dealing with people who are really not interested in ordinary people's lives,
Yeah.
they're not interested in the effects of climate change. They're not interested in the fact that the whole world could just go underwater, right? I mean, that's just I'm just using hyperbole to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
my
For sure.
point. If they are not, if they don't care, then what does that mean in terms of what we need to do next? And so that's the crisis that we're in. So it's not just a matter of, we can't argue with these people. And I think we can get enraged about it. I think we should be outraged. But it's
Yeah.
they're requiring a different response from us.
Right.
And perhaps
Right.
we're not looking at what that response has to be.
Yeah.
Because, it's at some point, it's just like, okay, well, this thing needs to change completely, and it cannot involve a conversation about how to draw them in. It cannot even
Exactly.
involve a conversation about how to include them. It actually needs to be a conversation about what do we do? What's the next system? What's
Yeah.
the next thing we have to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's a frightening conversation. So we're stuck in trying to, at least the Democrats, I will say, are stuck in trying to win over people and so forth. And I really think there's a lot of value in that, generally speaking. But when you're talking about people who are as nihilistic
Mm-hmm.
and as dangerous as these people, it requires another conversation.
That's the only thing that it could actually be, right? And I was talking about it. Thanks for the call. I was talking about it last night in the conversation about climate change, because it's amazing to me that we're either dealing with people who look at the evidence and don't care, or we're dealing with people who, I mean, it how can I explain this? They either simply can't, they're either living in an alternate universe in terms of reality, or they look at the same evidence and be like, it's not important. And if they're looking at the evidence, and we're talking about climate change here, and they're like, it's not important. And then you talk about Democrats, it says, it's not important enough for us to actually do enough about. Then we're dealing with, like the caller just said, we're dealing with a problem so much deeper than we even know. And we cannot deal with these people like the caller said. I'm just going to just basically repeat what the caller said. We can't deal with these people by trying to convince them. We have to politically obliterate them. We need to marginalize. I mean, think about the percentages of people who don't vote. I'm of the opinion that maybe that larger percentage of people who do not vote, maybe they actually are smarter than the rest of us. Maybe they've been able to see through all the bull for the longest and they just don't participate. And maybe we should give them an option that actually resonates with the largest majority here in the United States and blow the rest of them out of the way. Because otherwise, we're going to forever be dealing with people who can look in the face of evidence. The fact that our climate is changing so significantly that it could pose an apocalyptic scenario and not care, or not care enough to fight like hell. And it's the same thing with every other conversation. It is the same exact thing. They won't address the real solutions. They won't even talk about the real problem. They just dance around it on both sides of the equation. And here we are fighting the same fights for the last 100 years when other countries have answered most of these questions. The funniest thing about these interloping Brits on YouTube, Paul Joseph Watson and Milo, who's gone now, and Sargon of Akkad, these interloping Brits, what's hilarious and so ironic about it is that they are advocating against, here in the United States, what they benefit from leisurely in the UK. Universal health care. It may not be the perfect thing, but not a single one of them has to worry about going to a hospital and not being able to afford a treatment or a surgery. Right? I mean, the housing program, the assistance, not even just assistance, but like the housing program there is far beyond what we could even consider here. So they're sitting there enjoying the luxuries of, and the reason I bring them up is because questions that have been answered by other nations we don't even have the benefit of here in the United States, while we have these interloping Brits, keeping us, interfering, keeping people against the very things that they are benefiting from. But that's a tangential point. The point I'm trying to make is, what the hell is wrong with America that we're still playing these infantile politics? Where the largest economy, the leader of the world, we are the most infantile we have the most childlike politics of almost any nation. And not only are our politics childlike, we have no desire to even have conversations about how to change any of it. And we can't have it without having, I mean, it's just the rabbit hole goes so deep in terms of the psychopathy here in the United States compared to other nations who don't have half as much as we have, a tenth of what we have, but they've answered and they're making progress in those areas, at least the developed nations. And here we are twiddling our thumbs talking about whether or not we should have free lunch programs for kids in schools.